Welcome to the Jeffers Brief, only on Contra Radio Network.
Welcome, Intelligentsia, welcome.
Skybird, this is Dropkick with a Red Dash Alpha message in 2 parts. Break. Red Dash Alpha.
Stand by to
Red
copy
Dash
message.
Alpha.
Staying by.
Romeo, Oscar, November, Charlie, Tango, Lima, Alpha. Authentication 22040 Delta Lima.
I have a valid message. Stand by to authenticate.
I agree with authentication also, sir.
Enter launch code.
Entering launch code.
Launch order confirmed. Holy shit.
All right, Intelligentsia, just a little Hollywood there for you. Are they right on that? I don't know. I was never in one of the missile crews. Anyways, got a couple things. As we're all aware of, a horrific shooting on the New York subway. I'm wondering if the guy, when he's found, just happens to be carrying a ghost gun. I'm not saying it just as a conspiracy theory. I'm just putting the possibility out there. Would it surprise you? Probably not. I've got no sympathy for him. Look, the bottom line is this. This is what defund the police and bail reform thingy. You know what? How's that working out for you? This is where the rubber meets the road. Between you get what you vote for and failed liberal policies. Sorry, don't have any sympathy for you. You voted these ass clowns in. You knew what they stood for. You voted them in. You agreed with them. Don't come here looking for sympathy. Oh, John, that's so harsh. How could you say that? Simple. Let me ask you something else. Mass shooting in, was it Cedar Rapids, Iowa? Did you hear about that? Nah. But because it happened in the heart of the liberal pulse of the country, oh. And you know, I don't care for you people in California, especially Eastern California, get out. Get out if you can. They don't like you. They don't care about you. And you're forced to live under their taxation policies. Unfortunately, you should not have to. But be that as it may, I do not care if there's fentanyl flooding the streets of Los Angeles or San Francisco. Let them kill themselves. Don't care. Again, you chose these fools to run your state. So those of you on the seaboard of California, screw you, drop dead. I don't care. It's so hard. How can you say that? It's very simple. I don't. The idea that we should have to always care about everything and everybody. Well, you know what? Sometimes people get what they deserve. I'm sorry you were shot, but guess what? You chose these people to lead it. They said defund the police. You said, yes, I'm going to be woke. I am so hip. I am so woke. You know what? Kiss my ass. Enjoy it. Enjoy the hellhole that you've made. Live in it. And don't think, because you live in a blue state, especially if you liberals, You're going to go to Montana or Idaho? We got to go there. Can't live here anymore. It's you who voted for these fools who put these policies into your place where you live. The blue locust coming to a red state near you because they want to turn your home, the place where you live, into the same shithole that they escaped from. Because they won't change their voting habits. No, no, no. Because that would require them to admit that they were wrong all along, and that will never happen. Look, you don't have to argue with these people. Point it out, walk away. You're not going to change their mind. They have to come to that realization upon themselves. Most of them never do. They just figure it's Trump's fault or Bush's fault. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never their own. All right, enough of that. Now, my friends, give you a quick rundown of the countries that around the planet that our shows here on the Contra Radio Network are heard of. No particular order. Obviously, the United States, we have the most. Canada, still fighting. Don't give up there, you guys. The United Kingdom, Sweden, Australia, Ireland, Germany, Malaysia, Spain, the Netherlands, Chile, that's a new one for us. Norway, the Czech Republic, I think that's a new one for us too. Portugal, interesting. I think that's a new one for us. Puerto Rico, Denmark, Romania, we had Romania last month, welcome. Belgium and the Netherlands, hey guys, thanks for listening. They've been staunch supporters the last, year. Croatia, that's a new one. Belarus, how's that one, my friends? Russia, Guatemala, Singapore, Poland, India, Colombia, Finland, Argentina, Mexico, Japan, and Israel. Excellent. Welcome. Welcome to the Contra Radio Network. And if you're wondering how it breaks down by gender, there's only two genders on Contra Radio Network. Male and female. All others, don't care. 85% male, 15% female, and that's just in the last 30 days. And believe it or not, the age groups, 45 to 59 and 18 to 22, that's 30% apiece. So the word's getting out there, my friends. The word is getting out there. Make no mistake. Now, I was cruising through Gab this morning. Juanita Broderick posted something on Twitter. And the ghost lover, reprinted it. And you know what? She is right. Juanita Broderick puts out, somebody needs to tell the rainbow people that we don't oppose them. We're just fucking sick and tired of hearing or having their lifestyle crammed down our throats on a daily basis. Do your thing without needing applause. I agree with her. If you are a consenting adult and you choose to engage in that lifestyle, that's up to you. I don't care. Don't. Just quit parading it around. Jeez. And here's another thing. You've seen all these teachers lately have been arrested for, sexual abuse of their students. Are you going to tell me that their co-workers didn't know anything, didn't hear anything? Let me tell you something. Kids talk. We've all been to school. Kids talk. Passing through the hallway, at lunch, whatever. Kids talk. And not one teacher heard anything. I call BS. Their co-workers heard something. They had to know something was going on, and yet they remained silent and didn't do a damn thing. Don't worry, the teachers' union will come to their defense. Well, they will. There was a time in this country when you were a child molester, you were the scum of the earth. And you were sent to prison where you were beaten senseless because you were put in general population. Not so much nowadays. They're put into protective custody where they can hang out with their own kind, where they learn to commit their crimes better. In that they sit there and they swap stories, how they got caught, so they learn how to avoid being caught when they are released. I have a solution. I am the voice of reason. And that is this. If you are convicted of pedophilia, you should be taken out to the street and shot like the dog you are. The rabid dog, the rabid raccoon that you are. Now, but John, that's so hard. He might be rehabilitated. No, because people who molest children, their moral compass is broken and it can never ever be repaired. They can never ever be redeemed. They can't. So instead of housing them at $40,000 a year for the rest of their lives, or for however how long they decide to go become a guest of the Gray Bar Hotel, my solution only cost about 38 cents. When you start making examples of people who groom children for their sexual exploits, that is your prize. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. When the word goes out that this is going to be your punishment, you will soon see this crap stop. And those people that are, shall we say, more prone to that kind of their proclivities, well, that's one way to clean up society. I am firmly applauding the fact that Disney has lost millions of dollars from their stockholders. Personally, I don't see how the stockholders have not taken the leadership at Disney and perp walked them out the front door. I understand they've lost 50% of their reservations. People aren't going to their parks anymore, nor should they. They are not family friendly. And by the way, if you need a law that tells you don't talk about sex in front of kindergartners, first graders, second graders, and third graders, perhaps you shouldn't be a teacher at all. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't be around any school. You should be several miles away from any school. This idea that these teachers want to share their sexual proclivities with their students of that age, no. See, that throws a red flag for me. And it should be dealt with immediately. But that's just me. I don't know whether you agree with me or not. I don't know. I do know this. Can't please everybody. Can't. Now, let's see. What else have I wanted to talk about here? Boy. I think that... I did see the New York Lieutenant Governor Brian Benjamin was arrested in a federal corruption investigation. I know. I'm shocked. Another Democrat caught with his paw in the cookie jar. Say it ain't so. Oh, my. Is it me, or does the Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas, does he look like a creeper or what? I've seen him. I've seen pictures of him. I've seen him on TV. It looks like he, too, could be lurking around schoolyards. I'm just saying. That's what he looks like. Like when you look at Blumenthal, the senator from New England, what is it, Connecticut, I think? Or Massachusetts. He's one of the, I can't remember which one. Look at Blumenthal, he just looks like a slimy, slimy snake. And he is. He's proven that over and over again. You know, with all his stolen valor and whatnot. But, oh, by the way, don't forget that Biden just put a new nominee for the ATF director. Yeah, yeah, he's the epitome of your liberal. And like I said, I'm sure it's a complete coincidence. There's a mass shooting in New York the day after Biden announced new gun initiatives. Complete coincidence? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. In the meantime, you know, I don't care. If you're a criminal and you're involved in a crime and you're killed, whether you're shot, run over, beaten with a bat, I don't care. Here's an idea. Don't commit crimes. Don't commit crimes. Now, there are some people out there that are complaining about, well, the police arrested this guy for putting the Biden "I did that" sticker on the gas pump. Yes, I agree. I agree that it should be blown up far and wide. However, one thing you have to remember, if you believe in private property rights, then you have to understand that you cannot deface private property. But it's a gas pump. Public has access to it. Okay, let's do it this way then. You park your car at the grocery store, you come out and somebody slapped a sticker on your car, a bumper sticker or a window or whatever. Your car is your private property. Does anyone have the right to deface your car? No, they do not. That's the whole point of private property. See, here in the United States, the ownership of property, which becomes private property, is a cornerstone of our constitutional republic. So when you see the police are arresting somebody for putting a Biden sticker on a gas pump, that gas pump is not public property, it is private property. And unless you had permission to put that sticker on there, oh well, don't want to hear about it. Now, either you believe in private property rights or you don't. You can't say, well, I believe in property rights for some people, but not everybody, not the oil companies. Why not? It's an all or nothing proposition, not an all or 50% proposition. Protection for some, but not protection for all. All right, let's get on with it. That was my commentary. Ladies who listened to the Jeffers brief. Now, I'm sure you're going to hear, you've heard of this before, but let's talk about some useful tips to improve street smarts and avoid violence. And this is safety for women. And this is important because I have a daughter. She's a grown woman. Does she make decisions that drive me crazy? Yes. As my child, I sit there and I look at her and say, what in the hell are you thinking? Your mother and I did not raise you. Now, granted, her mother and I have been divorced for well over 20 years, but we still had input on raising her and to be a productive member of society. Sometimes she drives me bonkers with it. But she's an adult. So safety for women. My current wife just happens to be a female. Not my partner. She's my wife. She is a biological female. So let's do a little talking about this. And I want you women, we're going to take a little slow and easy so we get through this. This is important stuff. Now, 30% of women globally have been subjected to physical and or sexual violence at least once in their lifetime. Now, this is according to a 2018 analysis of prevalence data from 2000 to 2018. That's a 1 in 3. So improving safety for women should be everyone's job, but you can't count on that. If you're a woman, you could be a target someday. But you don't have to be a victim. So this is written by Aidan Tate. You probably say, well, who's Aidan Tate? Aidan Tate is, he used to teach at the Central Intelligence Institute, the farm in Virginia. But first, a story. Shall we tell a story? Yes. A cautionary tale about situational awareness. This is the story. My day started out as a beautiful autumn morning, very pleasant in fact, despite the frenzied atmosphere as we readied our son for school. We had recently moved and were living in Europe, a new city beginning a new school year. As my son and I rushed out the door and headed down the street to the school bus stop, I began the usual morning parental interrogation. Brushed your teeth? Check. Have your lunch? Check. Money for the field trip? Check. A few minutes later, I arrived at the corner with the other school children and pedestrians on their way to work. As we chatted, waiting for the school bus to arrive, I noticed one of the older students, the pretty daughter of a family who lived nearby, standing next to an older man a short distance away. Just then the school bus rolled up, so I gave my son a hug and a kiss goodbye. He and the other students shuffled towards the bus to board. All the students, that is, except for the girl Jean. Watched her for a moment, wondering why she wasn't approaching the bus, then noticed that the man was standing between her and the bus. Each time Jean tried to walk around him, he blocked her, moving his face closer to hers as he stepped back and forth in her path. At first I thought I might be a male friend, another student intent on teasing her, then I noticed that he was an adult, and I saw the look on her face, and she was worried. The confrontation. I told my son to wait, and I approached the two. I first asked her if she was okay. "I'm fine," she said in a frightened voice. I then asked the man, "Who are you?" "I'm nobody," he replied rudely. "Well, okay, she needs to leave now," I told him. "I'm not done talking to her," he said as he moved around to face me. "She'll miss her bus, so she has to leave now," I added, trying to stay calm. "No, not yet." "Yes, she is leaving now. Look, she is too young for you anyway," I warned. "I don't care how old she is," he countered. His last disgusting statement made me angry. Now, anger is an interesting, tricky emotion. It's a double-edged sword, if you will. It can be a good thing when it stirs someone to action when needed. It can also be a bad thing if not controlled and kept in check. So despite my growing anger, I tried to keep calm. I had been in another fight a few months earlier protecting a victim who had been attacked in a subway, and did not relish the idea of returning to the Office of Security in the U.S. Embassy and filling out another report. I gave the harasser another chance. "Listen, her dad's a big guy and a rugby player. You don't want to mess around with this young lady." "Right," he smirked, "and what are you going to do about it?" With that last comment, he gave me a shove. There was not much thinking from that point on, just a reaction. I shoved him back. He stormed back at me with fist raised. I threw a punch which hit him squarely in the left cheek. He came back for more. I struck him again, a blow which left him on the ground, his back against a tree. And then reached for his bag, so I kicked it, sending pastry spilling out across the sidewalk. The would-be sexual predator then whined, "Leave my croissants alone." I answered, "Okay, if you leave her alone." It would have been funny if not for the violence. So an analysis of the event and my response. I don't tell the story to boast. I'm glad I intervened, but I made mistakes. I also did some things right. So what did I do wrong? As I grew angry and angrier, I experienced a bad case of tunnel vision. My situational awareness went out the window, so to speak. I couldn't see anyone but the man, the aggressor. Did he have friends, family, or accomplice in the area? Don't know. Mostly saw his face. You see, when you get tunnel vision, you start focusing in on the threat. Everything else, your hearing drops lower. Your vision starts to blur from the peripheral vision because you're focusing on this. Time starts to slow down. Your perception of time is that it's slowing down. That's tunnel vision. So what did I do right? I had arrived at the park with satisfactory situational awareness. I was aware of my surroundings. As I waited and began loading my son onto the bus, despite the stress of trying to be on time and distractions while saying goodbye. The bus drove up, others were in the park. I recognized the students who were moving toward the bus and clearly identified others. Pedestrians, people on their way to work, even retired people, milling about or sitting on the benches. And I saw the would-be predator. Despite the emotions and anger, I still maintained some semblance of situational awareness, but emotions can make it difficult. Emotions will do that to a body. Emotions, anger, frustration, jealousy, and even excitement can cause someone to miss important details that we must notice, recognize, and process. Details that can save us from being assaulted by 1 man or 10 men. Details that can make the difference between sexually assaulted and going home safe and sound. Even the difference of life and death. Our emotions can impair our observational skills and our awareness. So, let's improve the safety of women. Means knowing how the predators operate. Predators will select a target, follow and surveil you to identify habits and routes, finalize a plan or possibly choose another softer target, surveil you some more, and lastly, deploy at a site along the usual route, waiting for the X, figuratively the spot where he wants to kidnap, rape, assault, or even seduce a woman for some sexual predators. It might be the backseat of his car. Obviously, the optimum time to thwart an assault is early on. The earlier, the better. It's better to identify him when he first approaches or strikes up a conversation or is following you or watching you than to wait until you're standing on the X or in the backseat of a sexual predator's vehicle. Now let's look at the levels of awareness that affect how situational aware we are, and thus how prepared we may be to avert danger. Let's talk about the fourth condition of Cooper's color code. Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Cooper, one of America's top authorities on personal self-defense philosophy. He's very good, by the way. He created this code to identify the level of situational awareness possessed by an individual in a given moment. Many in the security field teach the concept of conditions or levels of awareness or state of mind, white, yellow, orange, and red, and that we often drift between them during a typical day, often dependent upon our emotions, our observations. So condition white describes someone who is basically asleep at the wheel. You won't see the open manhole cover on the sidewalk or telephone pole in your path, nor the suspicious man lingering near your car in the grocery store parking lot. You won't see a thing other than your cell phone text message until it is too late. And believe me, you know I'm right. You know he's right. How many zombies are walking down the street? Condition yellow indicates you are alert but relaxed. You know someone is walking behind you on the sidewalk. You're aware of someone shopping the same aisle in the shoe store. You see the manhole cover on the sidewalk and vehicles, makes, models, even drivers that make multiple turns with you as you drive home. Interestingly, and contrary to what you would think, you're not paranoid because you're aware. I would argue that people in condition white are probably the most paranoid. You're not scared because you're prepared. Everyone should stay in condition yellow, women and men, until they encounter a threat. Condition orange. You know what? How many people on the subway in New York City today were in condition white? Condition orange defines a state when a specific threat has been identified, such as a man who followed you around the shopping mall is now standing next to your car. Once you recognize a threat, you'll move to condition orange. You might have seen someone many times over time and distance, not someone you noticed in the same store over a short period of time, for example, and have confirmed that you're under surveillance, that you've been followed by someone threatening. You'll now take steps to either move away from the threat or fight to escape. That's condition red. At this point, the man who followed you through the movie theater has blocked your path toward your car and tried to drag you inside his van. Or the thug at the restaurant is trying to pull you out of the exit door. You now have the fight or flight. You can put flight first since that is your best bet. You will scream for help, resist with all your strength, run, kick, scratch, spray with your pepper spray. You'll fight with all your strength, even fight dirty. Ladies, men, there is no such thing as a fair fight. When I was a deputy, my buddy and I, my partner, because there were only two of us in the district, in each one corner, our district was a corner of the county. Two of us. And we lived in a county of over 500,000 people. So, my partner and I had a deal. And the deal is this. You fight to win. You don't fight fair. If you want to fight fair, you'll lose. When you're in a fight, you're in a fight to win. There is no such thing as fighting dirty. You use whatever you got to use to win. By remaining in condition yellow and staying aware of your surroundings, you can avoid many situations before you're in danger. Many assailants, including rapists or sexual predators, follow a similar chain of attack unless they find a target of opportunity. So how can you break the chain of attack? Well, you must be observant and aware. See, you need to see when a predator's actions correlate with your own, such as noticing when he is browsing through magazines and then leaving the store at the same time you leave. And then after seeing him enter another store with you, you observe he also finishes his coffee at the same time or walks to the food court at the same time. You need to notice his demeanor. Is he nervous, glancing at you, loitering without a purpose? You must really see him. When you see a possible correlation between his actions and yours, you can take more provocative steps to confirm he is following you. You can walk through the Walmart in a stair-stepping pattern, making several turns while heading to the pharmacy, for example, rather than 2 long straightaways. This forces him to take the turns with you and makes it easier for you to confirm that he's following you. Perhaps you execute a reversal, turning back down an aisle towards him and looking him in the eye, letting him know that you know. You might do a U-turn, vehicular reversal when driving, heading back towards him while jotting down his license plate number as you pass. You can then speed dial, dad, brother, friend, or police, depending upon the situation. If you're in a store and know that someone is following you, contact the manager of the store or a security guard and ask him to escort you to the car. So what happens when you are aware? When a woman is aware, you'll recognize an X and not go anywhere near it. If she sees a man standing next to his van on her path ahead of her, walking from a class to her dorm, she can stop well in advance. Speaking of which, keep talking about the van, brings me back to that scene in Silence of the Lambs. The Buffalo Bills are going, "Hey, can you help me get my couch in the van? I hurt my arm." And she goes, "Okay, I'll help you." And then she ends up down in the well. Okay. There. Prime example. Okay. You'll notice if he stops what he is doing to see if there's any correlation with your action. Does he look in your direction, act nervous? Does he grab bags of groceries from his vehicle and head up the stairs into his home? You might see a group of men in a parking lot near the exit of a movie theater before you exit. You'll stop and possibly act like you're on the cell phone, noticing whether they continue talking and laughing before they proceed to their vehicle or whether they're watching you and wait. You'll observe a young man loitering near the entrance of your apartment building as you approach. Sexual predator and waiting for a young woman to arrive so he can push his way in the door and rape her. You can assess the situation and know if he's dangerous by stopping and waiting some distance away. You can watch and might see the man's girlfriend exit a minute later and see them leave hand in hand. Mystery solved, danger averted. So how will you feel? Will your situational awareness cause you some perceived embarrassment? Will you feel paranoid when you turn down a ride from a man you don't know well? Or will you feel foolish that you hesitated, that you were a scaredy cat when you waited inside a store and asked the manager to accompany you to your vehicle? Will you be embarrassed if you intervene on behalf of a friend who might be in danger? No. You should feel proud that you are careful, aware, and smart. And you know what? You may never know that your observation, awareness, and pause, that extra few seconds of waiting, might have just saved your life or the life of a friend. So how did it feel after my confrontation at the bus stop? Was I embarrassed I got into a second fight in less than 6 months? Maybe a little. But I was glad I was aware enough to notice a young woman in need of help. what might have happened if I'd been oblivious and focused only on getting my son on that bus and hurrying off to work. Who knows? But it did happen because I was situationally aware, and Jane went to school and returned home later that day safe and sound. So what measures are you using to help you stay safe as a woman? Now, this article was published originally on October 28th, 2015, and it's been updated somewhat. But my point is this. Ladies, when the grid goes down, you are going to have to know these things almost immediately. I would suggest you practice them now, because it's easier to practice something that you have been doing for quite some time. And when it comes time to actually use those skills, and it is a skill, you'll be more apt and more ready for it. Now, yes, more women are buying firearms, as they should. Just because you're a female doesn't mean you cannot avail yourself to the Second Amendment of this republic's Constitution. You should. We all should. By the way, speaking of which, yesterday's press conference, did you see that mental defect holding a firearm in his hands? Lower receiver in one hand, slide the upper receiver in this hand. There's a picture, there's video of it. So the mental defect is holding a firearm in violation of federal law. But he's the president. He's a mental defect. And as such, should not have access to any weapons. Just saying. Next, I want to talk to you preppers out there. Why radio gear just might be the perfect barter currency. Transitory inflation never was. This was permanent from the beginning. Inflation in the U.S. is here to stay and is only going to grow worse while these fools keep acting up. Keep printing money. So while precious metals are great, and by the way, I have been investing. My friends, I buy silver coins. They're cheap. I buy 3 or 4 a month. I buy it through JM Bullion. They send it right to me. Pay $4 or $5 over the asking price. I don't care. You need to start investing in tangible assets. Tangible asset is something that is real, that has actual value, unlike a piece of paper with some green ink on it that says, "In God we trust." Remember, that piece of paper is only backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. I mean, the same government that's been printing this crap up like it's toilet paper? Are you kidding me? I'm not saying you should. I'm saying I do. So, I think there's much to be said for preparing for a barter economy as well. And this may very well be in the area that the U.S. is headed for patriotic Americans. See, many people understand the importance of barter in a collapsed society and store silver coins, ammo, alcohol, and so on in order to be prepared for such. I would suggest greatly, my friends, if we are in a grid down situation, you do not imbibe in alcohol, just because it's too easy to keep drinking. And by the time you are drunk and your reflexes, your reasoning, your observational skills are slower, you could lose everything. Instead, barter with it. But what if there is something else you could store? Something may not be as dangerous to be known for storing as a warehouse full of booze. I think that one of the most important things you're going to want post-disaster is a reliable means of communication and receiving news from the outside world. For such, you'll need a radio. Only people Other people are only going to learn this too late. And if you're the radio guy in a barter society, you really have the potential to do pretty well. So without further ado, here are the thoughts on bartering off your radio gear. Radios are going to be in short supply after a massive disaster. The cool thing about bartering them is that they're portable, compact, and a practical unit of currency in a barter society. Unlike a gold coin worth 2,000 plus US dollars, well, it's about $1,800 today, which you'll never be able to trade fairly for a day's food, a radio can easily be involved in daily transactions. So here are some thoughts you should consider with bartering a radio. Shortwave receivers serve as a fantastic source of information from the outside world, and if you end up in a situation where the world has gone dark, that's exactly what people are going to crave. I consider a disaster without one of these similar to backpacking without a watch. The lack of information drives you crazy. You gotta have it to make good decisions. Should there be an internet shutdown, grid failure, and so on, these will still let you hear what is going on in the rest of the country, at least from the ham radio operators and stations that are still on the air. Walkie-talkies. The first thing you know about walkie-talkies is that you'll never get the range out of them as they advertise. Think maybe a mile, as that is what you can realistically expect. That can prove perfect for retreat security, however. Out of all the radio options out there, I think walkie-talkies easily could prove to be the easiest to barter option. I don't foresee these being something you have to worry about setting yourselves for long. People are going to immediately know what they're for and want them post-collapse. Now, you have the President Adams CB radio. If you're looking to set up a comms network on a larger scale, I think CB radios work great. They're about as straightforward and intuitive to use as possible. They give you a respectable range, and you can get them fairly inexpensively right now. Well, I personally like models that are single sideband. You can get some very affordable units out there without the single sideband that can prove a benefit with trade. Quality-wise, I'm a fan of the President brand. Uniden is well known within the world of CB as well, but they don't seem to hold up for as long as the President does. If you're living in a world where there is no law, you probably want to avoid ticking people off by trading them a radio that's only going to break in a year's span anyways. Midland also makes a fine radio. Handy talkie units. Now, why not stock an extra few of these for barter? If anything, you could use them for your own survival retreats. You decide you can spare a few of them in exchange for food, fuel, health care, or the like. Then you're all set to do so, and you may very well have just added another node to your community's radio network in the process. Bartering radios is a win-win for you here, so if you decide to choose a different model than the UV5R, I still highly recommend you stick with the 2 meter or 70 centimeter bands. These are where the majority of traffic is going to operate. Also, keep in mind that this would have to be a world without the rule of law situation for you to use ham bands without a license. Antenna. Look, something to know. You can buy a ham radio. You can listen on the ham radio, but in order to talk to it, you should have a tech license, which is easy to get. Antennas. The radio is really only as good as an antenna. A lot of people don't realize this until it's late. And I can guarantee you there are preppers out there who will come to the same conclusion after a disaster. So here are the thoughts on bartering antennas. Whip antennas for HT units work great for boosting one's range over what they would have with a stock HT antenna. If I'm sitting at my kitchen table in the evening listening to local nets, these are fantastic. If I'm out backpacking, they're rather annoying unless you keep the antenna stowed away until you need it. It won't take long to stock ham radio antenna for people to realize that they're going to need an antenna upgrade. However, a supply of these could easily prove to be such or a source of barter for you in a disaster economy. Adapters and cabling. If anything, this is the most overlooked aspect of radio preparedness. You can have the fanciest radio in the world, but if you can't connect it to your antenna, you have an expensive box. So let's look into something here. Adapters. Really beneficial if you're building your own antennas or trying to make use of the infrastructure already in place you found around you post-collapse. For example, you find an antenna set up for ham radio, but the ham radio is gone. The only people that are really going to need those are those who know how to do such. That will mainly mean there's going to be ham radio operators that will be out there looking for these. That considerably shortens your market, but these are going to be something people are going to truly need. They're cheap, take up virtually no space, and are indispensable. See no reason why they couldn't serve as a fantastic radio barter item post-collapse. The RG8X coax cable. Another item ham radio operators are desperately going to need post-collapse. Nobody ever seems to have enough of this on hand. So if you want to make your own antennas, you're going to need coax. If you make sure that type you pick up already has a type of adapters on the end you'll need, you'll save yourself a bit of trouble. Don't forget charging equipment. It does no good to have radio gear prepped if you don't know how to use it. There's a book out there, The Prepper's Guide to Post-Disaster Communications. I suggest you buy it. It doesn't hurt to have it. Just because you know it doesn't mean anybody else in your family or group knows it. All right. And bartering your radios, the extra ones, could help keep your family fed, like we talked about, bartering. There you have it. There it is, my friends. All right. That's it for this week. I'm John Jeffers here on the Jeffers Brief. Thank you for listening. Don't forget about our other shows. Independent Mouth with Anthony Williams III. Dave Kirshner. He has a good one. The Dave Kirshner Lightning Round. You'll like him. Our good old friend Mark Boyle. Now, Mark is farther to the right than anybody that I know. As such, that makes me the voice of reason. We have other shows. We got Prepping 2.0. Glenn Tate, Shelby Gallagher. Listen to them. They have interesting guests on also. Is there anybody else that I forget? Don't forget the Survival and Basic Badass podcast. They're on here. Don't forget, we got our good friends. Well, you know what? I haven't seen them in a while. And I should get a hold of them. We'll get them then a little bit later. All right, in the meantime, thanks for listening. I'm John Jeffers here on the Jeffers Brief. Have an American day. Prep today, live tomorrow, or at least longer than those that didn't prep. Until then, have a good one.